Well, hey there, everybody. My name is O'Shea Jeffson, and you're tuned into the Entrepreneurship Speaker Series here at Northlight. And I want to welcome our guest today, Mark Wykes from Wykes is Your Independent Grocer. And a little bit about the Speaker Series. It's powered by Rolf and Mark Hogan, who bring together and bring in entrepreneurs from throughout Whitehorse and the communities to share a little bit of their knowledge and insight into what it takes to start a business, run a business, and be successful here in the territory. And they have a long legacy of businesses here in town, as does the territory, First Nations trading, the gold rush, and now the entrepreneurs of today. So we're hoping that you're tuning in and you'll find a little bit more. So thank you all for joining us. And again, welcome, Mark.
Thanks, O'Shea.
And so we'll start with the tough question here. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do?
Wow, okay. So first of all, I'm a family man. I have a couple of boys. They're grown now at home, and a beautiful wife of, I think, 28 years now. She's going to correct me, I'm sure. So been married for a long time. I'm a Yukoner at heart. I grew up here. I moved here in '73 from Nova Scotia. My dad transferred with the government. Took an opportunity to go from coast to coast. So I grew up here from 3 years old until I was 15, and then briefly went to Vancouver. Dad had an opportunity with the government to go into the office in Vancouver, which we all voted on as a family and decided that'd be a great idea. It didn't take me very long to figure out that that really wasn't a great idea for me. So the rest of my family still remains down there, very established. But I returned home permanently in 1991.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And before we get into the details of your story, people are going to have an opportunity to ask you questions about your experience and what it takes to run a successful grocery store here in the territory. And for those of you who might have questions who are tuning in, we do have Rick here who's managing all the audio and video, and he'll be able to walk you through what it'll take if you want to ask questions. And yeah, he'll fill you in here.
Hi, everyone. I'm here behind the console. If you want to ask a question, if you know how to use the hands up symbol on, or the raise hand signal on Zoom, you're free to use that, and I'll pipe you through so that you can ask your question directly to O'Shea and Mark. If you don't know how to find that, just post in chat that you'd like to ask a question. And if you'd rather not speak your question out, you can actually just type a question in and I'll repeat it for you. So thanks. Back to you, O'Shea.
Awesome. So Wykes, your independent grocer, tell us a bit about how you came to be the owner-operator.
Well, funny you asked how I became the owner, because I really started at the bottom. When I was hired on at the then Super Value in the same building that the Your Independent Grocer is in today, yeah, I started at the bottom. I was pushing carts out in the parking lot and bagging groceries. Yeah, but I'd come out of a store that I was mentored well in Vancouver for 4 years, 3.5 years, I think. A family-run Super Value business, a smaller store, but really in a great little community in North Vancouver. And I learned a lot in the 3.5 years that I was there. I was given a ton of responsibility. But when I decided to return home, and this is it, I'm done with the city, I wasn't intending actually to get into the grocery business, but I knew I could get in there and get a job and get some money going before I discovered what I was really going to do. And again, I came in, I started at the bottom in terms of seniority and jobs and so on, and but quickly moved up the ladder there too. So not unlike the family-run store, I was given a lot of opportunity quickly to grow, and that kept me engaged, and off I went, and you know, opportunity after opportunity arose, and got into management, and you know, it just went from there. It was just a ton of fun. I think one of the big things that happened though was the Superstore came to town. So when the Superstore was coming to town, that was a dying business. That's when the opportunity came to me to get that store. So it was it was an easy grab for me, but with a very uncertain future.
And let's talk about that, because when we did our pre-interview, you did mention that and how, you know, you kind of saw it as a bit of a challenge. Walk us through what it's like to see it as, you know, you're now facing the Superstore kind of big competition.
Yeah.
What steps did you take to kind of take that challenge on?
Yeah, you know, that store was, the extra food store at the time was intended to shut down. So it had, it was a really tired old asset, hadn't had a renovation in a long time, refrigeration didn't work properly, so we needed constant maintenance. the superstore when it opened, a brand new building, something that our community wasn't used to. But not everybody thought that that was a great idea, and we could see that early on. So there was opportunities that were left out there for us to do. So we look for some weaknesses out there in the market with all the stores. Where can we? What is there that we can do in this little old store to try and survive? And I had some really passionate managers that stuck with me, and we took it on. And we the biggest thing we did was customer service, and that's an easy one because if you have the right people, it's just natural. So we built that business on customer service.
And can you expand on that? Because a lot of people watching might be curious to know what it takes to look into that market and do that analysis. And people might not necessarily think that that's the case when you have a grocery store, right? They might just think, open it and people will come. But you took a look and found that there was a missing need there. Yeah,
for sure. It was before the days of people communicating on iPhones and Facebook and all those kinds of methods. So there's no social media, but boy, you didn't have to put your ear too close to the ground to hear the rumblings of what wasn't working properly, to figure out what you need to do better. And from your own customers as well, not just what people are upset with that are shopping other places, but you, as a business owner, you would go out there, you'd check out what your competition's up to, what they're doing, and you'd get a good feel of the vibe in the store, or the level of service they're giving, or whatever it happens to be, the way they're merchandised, or how fresh their product is. So, yeah.
We were talking about it a bit before the stream started, but there were a lot of comments about this event, and people just were overwhelmingly positive and supportive. They love going there. They love the customer service. What are some of the things that you tell your staff to keep that bar high and to keep people coming back for that great customer service?
Yeah, it's difficult. We have quite a large staff now. And so with a large staff, it's hard to get the message straight from me to every single employee. But really, it's through my management team that we try and spread that word and that culture that we try and have in the store and create. And we try and make sure when we onboard employees, they kind of get, the feel of what the store is. And today, I can't hold staff meeting and gather people together to get that message out there. But I find those are such great opportunities for me to bring, in the past, a few months ago, and I didn't do it often, but I sometimes would. And I do it on the sales floor and when the store's open in front of customers and so on. But just bring those people in and we would have an open forum, not dissimilar to what we're doing right now, where, geez, I would stand up there and I'd tell all my staff about, where we are, what we're trying to achieve, and how successful we're at achieving the goals that we've set, and so on, and what my expectations are on service and so on. But I'd also open the floor to them and, ask me the toughest questions, put me on the spot. I don't really care. I'll answer it as honestly as I can. And, there's no smoke and mirrors in running that business. I try and just be transparent and really open and honest. And if I don't have an answer, I'm not going to lie to somebody. I'm going to try to get them an answer in the future. So I find that goes a long way to getting more engagement and so on. Like, people aren't intimidated by me, or, it's come and ask me questions.
Yeah.
I'll try and answer them for you. I think that goes a long way.
That's great.
Yeah.
As far as some of the challenges that you face as an independent grocer here in town, what are some of those, and what are some of the big hurdles that people might not necessarily appreciate, especially when it comes to running a grocery store here in Whitehorse?
Yeah. Well, logistically, we're so far from our suppliers with weather and road challenges and no services. If a truck breaks down or what have you, there's no way to get it repaired immediately. Lead times to order groceries in, we're 3 days out, 3 days in advance, and receiving trucks every single day, which we do. If we have an order today that's due to arrive, we still have 2 more already rolling. And if something happens to that load that's scheduled to arrive today, for example, the load gets frozen because it's -40, or the truck goes in the ditch or breaks down, they don't have enough drivers to bring that delivery all the way to town without shutting it down, so it's a day late. We all of a sudden have no sales for today in our fresh departments, for example. We might go empty. And then now all of a sudden tomorrow we have twice as much as we need. And the next day we still have freight rolling. So we've got to make an adjustment today, or we might not even know what's happening with that load today. We might have to wait till tomorrow. So it takes 4 or 5 days to recover from one incident. So that's probably the biggest challenge. The second biggest challenge, which we're not experiencing right now because of COVID, has always been labor in this town. It's very difficult to retain people. in retail in this community. There's a lot of opportunity out there. So people sometimes will try and jump on a seasonal job to make a quick buck and then try and come back off season, those types of things. And it's very difficult to retain and grow. But
do you hope that people might maybe want to come work at Wykes Independent Grocer because you have that customer service, that community engagement, those kind of big values?
I certainly hope that people would want to, and I'd be disappointed if they didn't have those, those values when they're coming to us with a resume. I would hope they already kind of know what we're about and that our reputation is that we are a good employer. We really try hard to be a good employer. It's difficult, but we run shifts in that store. There's somebody in that store all the time, so we run 3 shifts a day. Not even everyone works an 8-hour shift, but there's people in that store 24 hours a day. There's a lot of people that run through there, so it's very difficult to keep it, staffed up. But to run a night crew has been very difficult. For example, a graveyard shift. Sometimes we get groups of people that are connected somehow socially that will come, and they all kind of want to work the same job, so that kind of works out. Sometimes it doesn't, and it's tough to get people. But yeah, the values. For sure. Come knowing about us. Hopefully we have a reputation already and
Nice. As far as a business owner, we talked about a little bit, what consumes most of your time and what are some of the things that keep you up at night?
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
What do you think it is?
I don't want to give it away because I think I might have an idea, but I imagine there's...
Let's ask Lana. Does Lana have any ideas?
I mean, there's revenue and keeping your customers happy, like our customers happy, that would keep me up. But staff, I mean, for me, that's a big one. Is my team good? Are they okay? Are they healthy?
That's absolutely what it is. That's great because it's HR. There's so many people, there's so many things that are happening all the time, so many moving pieces within the business. So it's not the financial aspect. It's not are the groceries there. I don't control that anyway. Like if they show up when they show up and we put them on the shelf as quick as we can once that happens. But yeah, it's HR will drive you crazy. I was intending to take yesterday off, okay? Weather dependent, but I was planning on taking yesterday off, but I was up half the night on Tuesday thinking about things that I needed to sew up at the store that weren't done. And I'm like, oh crap, and they're mostly HR things. And so I need to deal with this and this and this. And so I didn't take yesterday off. Instead, so I can sleep last night, I worked yesterday. And that's just the way it is. But yeah, it's crazy how stuff just is continually going through your mind.
And a lot of entrepreneurs might also relate to that because they have kind of those same concerns, right? It's those pieces that kind of keep them awake. Do you have any coping strategies or things that you do to kind of stay above ground or stay above water, I should say? And stay above ground, I guess, both.
Yeah, stay above ground for sure. Yeah, there's a lot of different things I do. My time when I'm not at the store, I really try and not be at the store. I like to be outside. I winter camp. I have 4-wheelers. I have a boat. I have snowmobiles that I haven't ridden. But there's things that get me out of the house. We'll walk the dogs. There's just different things. And all that for me is enough to keep me sane, for sure. I mean, it doesn't take a ton. I often, one of the things that I found that I've done, and I've done it for a long time, is if I've got a lot of things on my mind, I'll just jot them down. And then I find that I don't need to keep thinking about them. And so I can have a clear mind. But
nice.
Doesn't mean your phone's not going to ring.
Yeah, for sure. I want to talk about community engagement a bit. Sure. Anyone who knows Wykes Independent Grocer knows that you're involved in plenty of different things and you love to be involved. Can you talk about why that's important to you and some of the things that you do?
I love helping the community, and I feel like with the store, have the ability to be able to help. So yeah, it makes me proud to be able to do that. I think there's a lot of people, whether you're a local producer or something like that I can help you sell things in the store. That's great. I love doing that. That makes me, feel really good to have those products in the store. But you might also be a group just trying to do some fundraising and to give you some space in the store to sell tickets or talk about your cause, or right now we're starting a campaign on our front end for a couple of weeks to try and fundraise for Victoria Faulkner Women's Center, you know, and that feels really good too. I reached out to the director there earlier this week to ask if they'd like to partner up. And she said, oh, that would be so awesome. And it feels really good. I haven't done that for them before. So it's a new group for me.
Yeah.
You know, we've done a lot of different groups, but to get out there and spread out what we can do to, you know, to the whole, not just Whitehorse, but actually the whole territory.
And there are people too, even local producers you mentioned. I can go into your independent grocer and I can find basil that's been grown here. I can get Atlan coffee, maple syrup, all these things that A, you wouldn't think can be found here, but B, are featured in your store next to some other products, right? Which might take money out of your pocket, but it also supports those local producers and local businesses. Why do that? Yeah,
it's actually a win-win-win. So I win, but I'm probably the biggest loser out of the least. I win the least amount. It's about the consumer really wins, and certainly the producer wins. So it's about getting people what they might want to have. So if they want local product, I'm going to have local product. And yeah, it might take away sales from something that might be more profitable that I already have on my shelf, but to me that doesn't matter. It's awesome, and I buy a lot of local product. I love it. I love it.
Is there ever anything that you see, you mentioned that you reached out to Victoria Faulkner Women's Center. Are there any other producers that you saw that you wanted to reach out to because you really wanted to feature them? That stand out in your mind?
Producers?
Yeah.
So, well, the Victoria Faulkner Women's Center is a charity. Sorry.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. But as far as some of the foods and stuff go, are there any, not necessarily organizations? But...
I really wait for people to come to me. So, you know, I try and make myself available. I think that if anybody's out there with ideas, if anybody has ideas out there, they would come to me or go to another producer that's already in the store just to feel them out or whatever. I think that's how a lot of people do end up coming to my door and you know, bending my ear for a little bit. But I really love it when somebody comes to me with an idea, knocking on my door, and it's like, I'm thinking about this, and maybe it's something I hadn't thought of before. But anyway, let's try it.
Yeah.
Geez, if you want to do it, let's try it for sure.
Cool. And we have a question?
We don't have any questions yet, but we do have a couple comments.
Oh.
The Yukon Canoe and Kayak Club says that they appreciate very much the donations and raffle ticket space provided by Marks every year.
Yeah, perfect.
And Teresa says that you sell her grandma Teresa's Bannock mix, and totally appreciate you for that.
Yeah, well, thank you. Yeah, no, it is super that, you know, and it's so great. And all the people that come that produce are so passionate. They make such great products, and they're so passionate about what they're doing. I just love to see it. And, you know, I love to give them their check at the end of every period, every 4 weeks is how we run our finances there. But yeah, it's really fun for me to be able to do that. Yeah.
Yeah, we've got a couple rolling in just now. Deborah just wanted to clarify that she's the Twisted Gourmet.
Hey, Deborah.
Has said that Mark's been a huge boost to her business and has been endlessly supportive of the local producer community.
Yeah.
She calls you a rock star.
Oh, she is too.
Yeah. We also have a question from Pam Buckway asking how many local products are in the store right now?
I can only ballpark it. I don't have an accurate count, but in the mid-20s, like mid-20s.
That's pretty cool.
Thanks, Pam. Yeah, no, it's a lot.
And it's all local businesses too that, you know, local working together.
Yeah, it really is. It's networking, right? So yeah, it's fun.
I do want to ask about COVID. So one of the things that you said when we had our pre-interview was trying to do the right thing will never backfire. And I think that resonates a lot, especially hearing it from you, because you did mention a lot of the safety steps that you've taken at the store. And maybe can you touch on a bit of those and your approach to handling this crisis?
Yeah, COVID's been tough on businesses, you know, and not just the initial onslaught, but even today, with no cases here, it doesn't mean we've changed our practices. We brought in our practices and they've stayed. So whether we have cases or not, we're still doing everything the same. And as I look around, I don't feel the same in every single business that I go into. So I feel what I wanted to do was make sure that the community felt that if they shopped in my store, that they would feel comfortable no matter what the situation was. And I just thought that, you know, it's important for me to do that. And yeah, it is doing the right thing. And you know, if if we do have a second wave or a third, or we don't, I just feel it's the right thing to do in today's world. And it's probably going to stick around for some time, and that's okay. We can deal with it. And the only thing, I apologize to my customers that I make wait outside. That's the only, it's the only thing that really doesn't feel good to me. Everything else feels good. I mean, my staff are really happy. They're comfortable, whether there's cases or no cases in the community. They're very happy with the way the store is set up so that they feel comfortable and safe coming to work. And, and that's priority one.
And you've also done, extra cleaning, the plexiglass, stuff like that.
Oh, yeah.
Like, what sort of stress does that put on your business while you're also trying to balance the safety of customers?
Yeah. Well, there's a huge expense to everything we've done. We're sanitizing 3 times a day in the store that may not be seen by the customer. Out on the sales floor for touch surfaces, so it's done for them 3 times a day with a third-party company. The guard at the front door, which I'm actually going to try next week to move to a staff, because I think that's going to be around for a long, long time. And move it to a staff, and maybe somebody that's got a bigger smile and and a little bit more personal might talk about. I don't know, but anyway, might be a little bit different experience, but there's a lot of costs there, but it's still the right thing to do. I feel it's for, it's not just for the safety of the staff. You mentioned the safety of the customer. It's there for you already. I think we're there.
And we have a question.
Yeah, we got a couple more comments. Sorry, I need to zoom to the right spot. Pam says that she loves the senior hours from 7 to 8, and it's wonderful for those of our community who are in the higher risk category. And the Yukon Canoe and Kayak organization says, at least it's not winter.
Yeah, winter's going to be a tough one to figure out for me, for the lineups. And I believe they're still going to exist. So I don't know if I'm going to have to enclose something outside or put heat out there, or I don't really know what that's going to look like. We've got a bit of time to figure that out yet, I think. And it's not just us. The liquor store over here, I can see right now, it's lined up to Ogilvy Street. Yeah, I know. So, and they're going to get blasted with wind there. So I feel a little bit more comfortable that at least we're protected from the prevailing wind, and overhead in case there's a precipitation or something like that. And Pam, I'm glad that you mentioned the 7 to 8, because I hadn't seen you in a while. I honestly thought you were cheating on me.
But maybe as far as that unpredictability and that uncertainty, a lot of businesses are in the same boat and trying to plan for the future when it's so uncertain. How do you handle that? And is there anyone that you look to for guidance, or is there any resources that you access?
Typically when I look for guidance, I look locally. I talk to other retailers. I try and get a good sense of what's going on here.
Yeah.
And make best judgment based on that. I certainly have a bunch of sister stores in Western Canada. So I've got some good connections down in southern communities. Some good, I would call them good friends now, that I would also reach out to for more business stuff, not so much local questions. But yeah, I have a big enough network that I feel very comfortable figuring out almost anything that we need to.
Is there anything that you would want to maybe have stay permanently as we evolve out of this?
It depends on where we land. If we go back to the way we were back in December, or last fall or last summer, I would hope that the whole world gets back to that. But presuming it doesn't, I don't like seeing people walk around with masks, but that's the reality. I like to see a smile, and you get. But worst comes to worst. I mean, the social distancing lines on the floor will be around for quite some time. No matter what, they'll be around. I don't really have a problem with that, but there might be a time where we don't enforce it. Today we try to. Yeah. But there might come a time a year down the road, or maybe even further. And people are making comments on the plexiglass, and I like that should stay permanently. And maybe so. It'll depend. I want it to be comfortable for both the cashier and the customer, and have that good interaction back and forth. It's tough to talk through plexiglass, for sure. So I want the experience to be great, but ultimately it's about, you know, how the cashiers, the staff are going to feel in the store, and how the customers are going to feel. So.
Looking at the store, you've taken a lot of steps that make you a leader here in the community from a safety standpoint and customer service standpoint. And the other day when we were doing the pre-interview, we're outside and you're personally going to get carts and bringing them back to the cart rack and taking all those steps. And I was wondering if you could maybe talk a bit about that lead by example mentality and why that's important.
It's funny, you know, I'm still the guy that'll go out with the, you know, the dust butler and the broom and sweep up cigarette butts. And that's not because I'm the only guy in the store and the only one that can do it. I don't mind, you know, and I enjoy it. And yeah, lead by example for sure. I mean, there's no better way. There's no better way. And when I learn, you know, I don't learn from reading. I learn from being shown, and then doing it myself and screwing it up and trying again. And that's the reality.
Practice makes perfect.
It is, but yeah, it's the best way to learn. That's how I learned within my career to learn the grocery business. I was shown. I had a great mentor at the store I had in Vancouver that took the time to show me how to merchandise correctly and you know, a lot of different things. And that went a long way for me.
Is that a question?
Yes.
Oh, perfect.
Actually, we have a couple comments and a couple questions.
Oh, perfect.
So Mal says when he goes to the store, I'll just read it directly. He says, when I go to the store and I have a special request or want some assistance, I always am well looked after, whether it's Mark, a manager, a cashier, someone stocking shelves, or anyone else. Clearly, there's a huge emphasis on delivering to the customer an excellent experience.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you, Mal. I appreciate that. And he always makes a point of coming to us directly to give us positive feedback from an experience he had with one of the department staff or something that had happened. So I appreciate that. And it always goes a long way. And I try to make sure that if I get comments like that, it goes back to the staff. You know, it's important, but that's great. Thank you, Mel.
Pam was also pointing out when you were talking about how sometimes you'll work the floor when you need to, that you also pick up garbage in the parking lot and run a till when it's necessary.
Absolutely. There's nothing I won't do. And yeah, for sure.
And we have a couple questions from Lana, who's actually sitting in the other corner here, but she doesn't have a mic, so I need to repeat it so everyone can hear it. And this is actually a good time for anyone who's showing up late to remind you that if you have any questions to ask, you can type them in chat and I'll repeat them for you. Or you can use the raise hand feature in Zoom and I'll actually let you ask your question directly to Mark. So Lana's asking, she says, I'm wondering, does Mark feel prepared for how things may change in the fall?
Weather-wise? Because I can't predict the future. I have no idea what's going to happen. The crystal ball is broken, I'll tell you that. But yeah, I feel that we're probably not prepared for whatever's going to happen, but certainly there's enough time to deal with the outside stuff or weather-related things. And COVID-wise, I have no idea what's going to come, but I'll tell you what, we'll deal with it 100%. And I'm very confident in that.
Also, any tips on what local producers should consider when approaching Mark to carry their products?
Oh, that's a great question.
Is that a Deborah Turner Davis question? That's a Lana question again. Okay.
I want to know how people can win you over.
There's no wooing. It doesn't work like that. I really want to hear what you're planning on doing, what you're really excited about, and give you an opportunity to give her. Yeah, so it's a simple process.
Did you ever see yourself as a business owner? Like when you were charting out Mark's life, did you ever see yourself as a business owner?
Well, here's the thing. Mark didn't have a chart. Okay, so Mark just went with it. And so when I was pushing carts at the store, the chart wasn't to be where I am today. But certainly the chart started to happen and I could see the path. But yeah, there's no path. I really just, when I try and do things, I do it because I want to do it. I don't do things because I don't want to do it. I really, really enjoy the grocery business. I love the social aspect. I enjoy this, when you're running a business, you got the financial end, you've got the HR, you've got the customer experience, you've got the staff, you've got, we've got the trucking, we've got all of these different things that are new to me every day because they're never the same as yesterday. And so for me, every day was going to be exciting. So that's what kept me going to get me to where I am. I don't think that answered your question directly.
It kind of did, but I will ask a follow-up then. When you became owner-operator, was there a moment that kind of tipped the scales where you were like, actually, I'm going to do it, let's go 100%? And then maybe did you feel ready when that moment came?
Oh, yeah. I feel like that moment probably came when the lease started getting renewed on the building, when it wasn't going to close down anymore, and there was like, holy crap, I can make something out of this. So let's just keep going and driving, and that felt really good. And so I would go to conferences down south with leadership out of Loblaw, and they'd corner me and say, Mark, what's going on with the business? You're growing so fast. Well, I don't know. Like for me, it was just why wouldn't people come to the store? We're just serving the customers, we weren't doing magic tricks or, pulling different stunts to try and entice people in the store. It was just running a business. So for me and the staff, it just was a natural process. So, and then, it felt good to get there. Yeah. And what really puts the icing on the cake, I guess, is when Loblaw decided to renovate that old asset and dump a bunch of money into it. And, that's like an appreciation. It's giving back to the community. They didn't do it for me. I'd apply to get that franchise. But they did want me to run it, and that's giving back to the community. And that's pretty special. So says you're doing something right.
Yeah. Well, and maybe on that, what are some of the benchmarks that you use to know that you are doing well and continuing to grow the business? Is there anything you're looking for? Is it just word of mouth?
Yeah, well, so from a customer feedback perspective, there's, we love feedback. We love positive and negative feedback, get it all, because we'll grow from the negative, and we certainly love to hear the positive too, so we can share it with the team and make them feel really good. But I guess to answer that question is the bottom line. So it's the financial end of it to make sure that you're actually succeeding as a business, But yeah, no, to serve the community, I mean, we get so much more positive than we get negative, and we deserve negative when we get it, and that's fair. We'll learn from it, but it's always nice to hear the positive. Yeah.
When it comes to feedback, some people might not necessarily always be in a position to accept feedback, especially when it's negative. Are there any tools that you want people to access that you can get negative feedback, and maybe what's your approach to sharing negative feedback with staff?
Yeah, so to give negative feedback about the store, I like to hear about it personally. And I'm more of a face-to-face or person-to-person, or at least no less than a phone call. I'm not an email. I think you can misinterpret, an email or a tone in an email. I hate responding to an email.
Yeah.
So if I've got an email with no phone number, if I get a negative email, I'll read it, and I'd love to phone back and chat about the experience or whatever it is that we may be doing, not to the standard that's expected. And I have no problem giving negative feedback back to the staff either. I mean, that's, it'll help make them better people too. And I always try and do it in a constructive manner. So I think that goes a long way.
As far as personal traits that you think you bring to the business that help you be successful, what do you think some of those are?
Definitely, I don't get thrown off. So I think that's so important. I think you could be shaking a lot of the time when all these different things start to happen, and not just COVID wise. I mean, just in business, things just don't happen, and some people can get very upset by things. But I find that I'm just very even keeled, and I sort stuff through over time. I'll think about it, and I think I was mentioning to you the other day that often I'm a slow processor to come up with a solution to a problem. So I don't shoot from the hip. I'll take information in, and I won't respond necessarily. It might take me a day or two to get back to you, but when I feel very confident when I come back, I've got the correct solution to the problem. Hence maybe up at night, I don't know.
Yeah.
But that's how I process things. And I think that's a really important trait because if you can't handle stress well, in a big business at least, it'll be difficult for you. For me, it's not a big deal. Yeah.
The flip side of that coin then, what do you think is a trait that you wish you had a bit more of?
I think my staff would say they wish that I was a bit quicker with things, or You know, I'm slow to get stuff done, but I feel very confident that we're heading in the right direction when it comes. Yeah, I wish I was a quicker processor.
When a lot of entrepreneurs are starting their business and kind of looking to the horizon, they're saying, okay, I want to retire in X. This is how I'll know I've met, Y. What does that plan look like? I know you didn't have a chart to start, but I guess maybe now, is there a timeline where you see yourself maybe stepping back or moving to a different challenge?
No, I love it. When I retire, it will be from the store. There's no question. I enjoy it that much. But the way that the franchise agreement works with Loblaw is that I'm signed in for 10 years with your independent grocer, and there's 5-year renewals after that. So we'll just see how it goes.
Yeah.
I'm midway through the first 10 years, and I'm having a lot of fun. The store is running well, and it's just not keeping me up every night, and I'm able to get away and get a little time, I'm still there. So.
Can you maybe touch on that a little bit? And you don't have to go into too much detail, but sort of what sort of flexibility you have, because it is a franchise. And so as far as an organizational standpoint, what are the decisions that you're able to make for your business without having to call corporate, I guess?
Sure, yeah. So the corporate side of it would be make sure you're carrying President's Choice product and you're following different programs and so on, that's the basics of the build of the business. But the fun part is, for me, is that you can branch out from that. So you can deal with local vendors. There's so many different things you can do. You can fundraise for whatever group you want at the front of the store. It's almost unlimited, the potential, be a part of the community. I mean, this type of franchise is in a community for a reason. It's to be out there and do what the community wants you to do. So awesome. Couldn't be better. Yeah.
And we got another question.
Yeah, we have a comment
from
Kathy Spalding. She says, I'd like to take the opportunity to say thank you to Mark for the incredibly open and dependable service and support he provided when she expedited for camps and shopped groceries for many in his store.
Yeah, that's for sure. Yeah. That was fun too. Thank you, Kathy. We don't see your chocolate in there yet, by the way. Yeah, Kathy was an expediter, so we really accommodate different groups, allow them space in the back room to load groceries or assemble orders to be shipped out on pallets, whatever, store stuff in freezers and coolers that have already been purchased overnight. That had been a big part of the business for years and years. It currently is not. With COVID, there's not a lot of that kind of stuff going on, a little bit, but not to the extent that there was. But yeah, we always try and make sure that we're helping out whoever we can. Yeah.
This is the first.
And Kathy just says she's working on it.
Okay, yeah. She's been working on it for a long time.
So this is the first speaker series where we've had so much, and a lot of these entrepreneurs are well supported, but overwhelmingly positive has been the reaction to you, the store. Maybe how does that make you feel? Oh,
it feels fantastic, and I really appreciate that. Yeah, I don't even know that you feel deserving of it, but I appreciate the feedback, and that's great. We do try. We're very proud of what we do as a group, and if you feel that we're succeeding, then I thank you for that. I mean, it does feel good, so thank you.
One of the things that we touched on a little bit, it's kind of a smaller point, but waste management and stuff like that. Here in the community, a lot of people care about recycling, taking care of the environment, proper disposal of waste, stuff like that. And grocery stores do have a lot of stuff coming through the doors. What are some of the steps that you've taken as a business to address that? We're
probably some of the biggest generators of waste in the community. Currently, we were quite restricted because of the recycling centers. And their restrictions, and we rely on Blue Bin Recycling to ferry our recyclables from the store to the recycling centers. So currently we're doing garbage. We're just firing back up plastics and recycling. We're on the pilot project for the city doing organic waste, and logistically that doesn't work in the store at all, but we managed to cope with it and feel that it's worthwhile to do so. Now it's mandatory, but during the pilot was good learnings. We learned a lot. The city learned with feedback from us what was working and what wasn't, and it's manageable. It's not perfect. We had been recycling styrofoam, which is currently not being accepted at the recycling centers, but there's a lot we do for waste diversion. and that feels really good too. There's a cost to it. There's a lot of labor that goes into it. There's a lot of cost for different pickups that you're having to do because it's different carriers taking different products to different places. But still, I think it's worthwhile. It's the right thing to do for the community. And I'm always on board when I'm approached by the city or whatever group to try to do something different. Like, let's talk about it and try and come up with something that might work. And then let's initiate it and see if we can make it work and adapt as we need to. So it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you're going through, I guess, and looking at your business, how do you see the store? Like, do you see it really as a business, or do you see it as the people, or are you always looking for efficiencies? Like, what are some of the things when you walk through the doors, what are you seeing and what are you analyzing?
When I walk through the doors, like when I come through the doors in the morning, is an interesting thing. So I'm seeing the cigarette butts that haven't been picked up, or as Pam said, the garbage out in the lot. And it's like, before I even go in, I'm out there sweeping it up because it drives me crazy. Or I'm seeing that the cart corrals doesn't have enough carts in it, or whatever. And then we were merchandised and so on. But I mean, really, I think about the store as the store, and it's inclusive of everything. It's the people, staff and customers. It's the way we're merchandised. It's the way we're set up in terms of the way the flow of the aisles. And yeah, it's all of it. Yeah, being that part of the community.
Yeah. And if there aren't any more kind of comments or questions, we can kind of come to a conclusion. But I guess, what would be for entrepreneurs looking at you as a successful business owner, maybe considering whether or not to make the jump? What are some pieces of wisdom that you could share with them, or tips on things maybe not to do even?
Yeah, I would say speak with people that are in the business for sure, in the community that you're trying to do it in, if that exists. If not, in a similar type of community or so on. But I would say, yeah, reach out to people that are kind of in the know to feel them out. And you get they'll probably guide you. I would never look at somebody coming in unless they say, hey, Mark, I want to open a grocery store, across the street. I would always give good advice. And I think that most of the retailers or business people in this community would also give very sound advice and try and help people grow and develop, as long as they're not trying to take away from themselves, from the business that they currently have. So yeah, I would say that's probably the best advice. Talk to somebody that's already there.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Perfect. Are there any more comments, questions?
Awesome.
Well, thank you all for tuning in. This is Mark Wykes from Wykes Independent Grocer. And thank you all again so much. Thank you for joining us. It's been great. And if you have any final words? No, thank you. Thanks for coming and joining and asking questions. And I'm available anytime. So please come and see me. Awesome. Well, thank you again so much. And thank you all for joining, and stay home, stay safe. And yeah, we'll see you during the next Entrepreneurship Speaker Series. Bye for now.